Men are rebelling against women and society as they become password bros and leave the West. So men are rebelling against women and society as they become password bros and leave the West. Let's go ahead and check out this article because it really illustrates what's happening in the world right now. There's a lot of criticism about remote work. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg is tired of remote work excuses, especially when it comes to civil servants. This has gone on too long. The pandemic is over. That's what he says. But let's jump into the article. Media titan Michael Bloomberg has had it with federal employees logging in from home, saying taxpayers are footing the bill for empty offices. Bloomberg co-founder, CEO, and majority shareholder delivered a scathing view of federal agencies which are still allowing staff to work from home the majority of their time in the article for the Washington Post. The man worth 94.5 billion, I had no idea he was worth that much now, describes the capital city as a shadow of its former self, claiming tax money is being wasted on empty offices and the public is getting worse service. This has gone on too long. The pandemic is over. Excuses for excuses for allowing offices to sit empty should end too, Bloomberg, who was the mayor of New York from 2002 to 2013, wrote. A report from the United States Government Accountability Office published in July revealed that that federal agencies spend around $5 billion a year to lease office buildings and a further $2 billion on maintaining and operating offices regardless of utilization. However, the analysis, which worked with 24 government agencies, found that 17 of the organizations were using the sites less than 25% of the time. Less than 25%, that's pretty massive. Although the report found that the agency managers were reluctant to share office space with other federal teams, it pointed out that any reduction in office space would reduce both cost and energy consumption. As Bloomberg puts it, some people argue that remote work for federal employees isn't a problem. Tell that to the taxpayers who are footing the bill for empty floor space and the cost of maintenance, as the GAO emphasizes. Tell it to the small businesses that are suffering, whose tax payments fund city services. Tell it to the many residents who rely on those services, especially poor people and elderly people. The Biden administration has been pushing federal employees back to their office chairs, though Bloomberg, who himself harbored ambitions to become president in 2020, feels not hard enough. In April, the executive office of the president said there was an expectation that agency headquarters and equivalents plan to generally continue to substantially increase meaningful in-person work in federal offices. It caveated with this: agencies should still use flexible operational policies as an important tool in talent recruitment and retention. Private offices are another matter. The argument for talent retention and recruitment is acknowledged by Bloomberg as reasonable, but more relevant to the private sector. The difference between federal employees and private staff is choice. He points out remote work by civil servants is especially troubling because the federal government is a monopoly supplier. In the private sector, if remote workers do a poor job, business suffers and customers take their spending elsewhere. In the public sector, people just have to put up with poor service. That's a very interesting response from him. According to a new report from workplace utilization specialist XY Sense, which took into account approximately 25,000 office spaces across 17 countries, private sector office use is faring just as badly as its public counterpart. In North America, average utilization for quarter one of 2023 was 21% to 33% lower than the average recorded across the rest of the globe. Empty offices are a problem that could result in another run on the banks. Some economists have warned, with swaths of new office buildings financed on short term loans with no leases taken out to pay for it. Morgan Stanley estimates that $1.5 trillion in commercial real estate loans are due to be repaid in 2025. This is insane, guys. $1.5 trillion in commercial real estate loans are due to be repaid in 2025. And I'm really wondering, yeah, are they really going to repay those loans? Like that's a big question mark. That's a huge question mark. And it sounds like basically no matter who becomes president, in 2024, they may be facing a major economic issue. Like, because if we have a run on the banks, that's Great Depression, bro. Like, that's Great Depression. If you have a run on the banks, then that'll affect the stock market because there won't be any cash. I mean, it would be absolutely terrible. And $1.5 trillion. I mean, if they default on that, the government cannot printing $1.5 trillion or even $500 million out of thin air, just like that, to cover this. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. With 176 offices across the world, some of which cost more than $1 billion to build, it's perhaps not a surprise that Bloomberg is keen to get his own staff back through the doors, a sentiment echoed by JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. More than 80% of staff are in more than 3 days a week, Bloomberg said, though added there will always be exceptions to this rule, and in the fall, the majority will go back to 4 days a week. Bloomberg concluded that hybrid work offers could even be valuable in order to increase competition in the market, especially when recruitment and retention is a challenge. But he finished, there's no good reason why government workers have been so much slower than everyone else to get back to the office at least a few days a week. Taxpayers deserve immediate action and hard deadlines, and the better the service and stronger capacity city. And the better service and stronger capital city that will result. And this story was originally featured on Fortune.com. So here's where things get really interesting. Because, and by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications to never miss another video again, and like the video because it tells YouTube you enjoy the content and you want to see more of it. But what this is basically telling us is that, remote work is here to stay. And as more men are walking away from Western society, they're going to demand, basically say, here's your options. Either you allow us to work remotely or you don't have workers at all. I'm just being very serious, because with passport bros, more and more men, and this is being a passport bro, this is the future trend for society. Because either you're a passport bro or you're a guy who's basically paying OF models to do weird stuff, really weird stuff. And I mean, that's all it comes down to, because as guys are choosing not to get married, not to have children in Western society and going overseas, they're choosing remote work. I bet a lot of you did not know this, that you can actually do a lot of jobs, even jobs like I'm trying to remember the name of these people who basically you go to, and if you want to I can't remember the exact word, but there's so many jobs right now that people would be shocked that you can do remotely, where they'll record you over the computer and you can basically just do these jobs remotely. Like, it's insane. Almost any job can be done remotely today. Even physician being, telemedicine is absolutely huge now, where people are checking in with their doctors and they're having virtual appointments with their physician. And the physician speaks to them, they describe their symptoms, the problems, and in many cases, they don't even have to go to the actual doctor anymore. Telemedicine is absolutely huge, and it's only going to become bigger and bigger. And it's not just telemedicine, it's transitioning away from people just interacting face to face with each other. And, the only jobs that cannot be done remotely are blue collar jobs where you have to have a guy who, if you need a welder, you need a welder. If you need a plumber, you need a plumber. If you need an electrician, you need an electrician. And the truth of the matter is that as more and more men walk away from Western society, the ones that stay behind, it's going to become hard because they're going to say, well, if you need a plumber, that's $500 an hour. That's $500 or fix it yourself. And there's going to be so much demand for blue collar workers. It's going to be ridiculous. Okay. And they're going to charge whatever they want. They're going to literally charge whatever they want. And it's going to become frightening with insurance companies. Some might go belly up because they're not going to want to pay out the kind of money that these blue collar workers are going to demand. You total your car, and the auto mechanic says, "Yeah, listen, yeah, it's gonna be $40,000 to repair this." Like what? And the insurance company's gonna say, "Wait, what? $40,000? Insurance company's gonna go, bro, the car only costs 36, and the employee and the mechanic goes, yeah, and it's gonna cost 40 to repair it, and it's gonna be very hard. It's going to be very hard, okay? Because basically, you might as well just give the person a brand new car, and the insurance company is not going to want to do that. It's going to become ridiculous. And maybe let's say not $40,000, but it may end up going, in some cases, it may end up coming out like, mechanics may end up coming out with saying things literally like that. Like, we're going to charge, we're going to get our money. But we have so much work, so many people who want us to do work for them, that basically these are the rates that we're charging. These are the rates that we are charging. And here's the crazy thing. Here's where it can actually work out in their favor for the mechanics. The car costs $36,000. The mechanic's demanding $40,000. You're saying that's absolutely insane. But what you don't know is that the vehicle in question cannot be replaced, because right now we're actually having there's a shortage of automobiles still. These companies are not able to crank out enough cars after the events of 2020. These companies are not able to crank out enough cars. So a lot of the vehicles, let's say someone, like, you need to replace this car, you need to replace this vehicle. The mechanic's like, I want $40,000. And guess what? They don't have any choice but to shell out that $40,000 to repair that vehicle, because there are no replacements. So they're going to have to pay more to cover the cost of repair that the vehicle is actually worth. And when you have situations like this, they'll start looking for loopholes to get out of the contract, or demanding that they'll go back to the person, they'll go back to the customer and say, listen, you're going to have to get another car because we're not covering these expenses. And that's when the customer is going to say, what are you talking about? I have collision coverage. It goes up to $50,000. And, you guys are responsible up to $50,000. And that's when lawyers are going to get involved. And they don't want lawyers to get involved, because if a lawyer gets involved, then that's a lawsuit. And the moment lawyers gets involved, now it's no longer $40,000. It's no longer $40,000, because now the consumer who had to go out and get an attorney, they're going to sue them because they have to pay the lawyer. All right. They have to pay the lawyer now because the lawyer's involved, and that lawyer is now going to charge him $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, maybe $100,000 to represent them. It's crazy. So now they have to go through with this suit. So now, Instead of paying $40,000, now the insurance company that didn't want to pay out is gonna end up having to shell out maybe 60, 70, 80, or even 100,000 or more in legal fees. And not just legal fees, but the consumer says that this is fraud, so they're suing the insurance company for fraud. So now they end up. So now it's not just they don't just end up paying the 40,000 and the legal fees. The consumer is going to say, well, there's lost wages because I couldn't use my vehicle, and this and the time, the consumption, and then there's also emotional and stress that I've gone through. Man, now they're facing $500,000 in losses. All right, $500,000. It's crazy. And I'm just giving you guys an example of what the future really looks like, as men are leaving Western society and saying, yeah, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. This doesn't work for us. We're leaving and we're not coming back, and we're not looking back because Western society has taken advantage of us. And this is the truth. If you want us to stay here, you're gonna have to pay us, and you're gonna pay us well. And let me make this clear: those same blue collar workers don't think they're gonna be working full years. Don't think they're gonna be working all year. No. They're gonna be charging $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, or more, and they're gonna be putting all that money in the bank. Yeah, you heard me right. They're not gonna be working full-time hours. And if they want wives, they're going to go overseas and get a wife. And they'll come back to the U.S. and they'll work only part of the year. Some of these guys may only work 3 months out of the year, 3-4 months out of the year total. That's it. I'm so serious. And then they head back to the Philippines or Thailand or somewhere in South America or Eastern Europe, and they go stay with their families. I know guys like that right now. That have their families in other countries. Their families were in the U.S. They moved them to other countries. Their families are in another country. And they're only in the U.S. working. Their wife, their kids are in another country. And they're happy over there, and they don't want to come back to the U.S. And they're making crazy amounts. They're making their money here. They're making their $75,000, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. And they're sending all that money back over there. They're not spending anything over here. They'll live in a shoebox. They'll live in their car if they have to. They're not spending it. They're spending as little money as possible in America. And they're putting all their money in the bank. And they're spending that money overseas. Sending money to their wives and their children. Their children don't want to come to the U.S. either. I know this guy. I got into an Uber some time ago, and I was talking to the driver, and the driver told me straight up, he moved his wife, his children to the Dominican Republic, and he said that his children, they didn't like it there at first because they're from the U.S. They didn't like it there at first. And now they refuse to leave. They left dad alone. They're like, Daddy, no, Daddy, you're good. You stay in the U.S. We're staying here in the Dominican Republic. We're not coming back. We're not going back. Because the quality of life that they have is ridiculous over there. Those kids are ballers. Okay? They have his sons, multiple girlfriends, bro. Multiple girlfriends. All right? Over there, they're rich. They're wealthy. They live in wealth and prestige and privilege. What did he do with his wife? He said to his wife, here's what we're going to do. I want you to tell me what kind of business you would want to run. What kind of business would you like to operate? Could you do? And I'm going to open that for you over here. And he said, all of that is your money. That belongs to you. This guy is smart as hell. Because just in case they ever get a divorce, she already has her bag. So she can't turn around and try to extract even more out of him. So what he's doing is he's setting her up. He started a business. He went and started a business for her. He let her. He financed it, and I believe she started up like a salon. And she has her own salon over there, and people working in the business, and that's her money. That's her business. And he's thinking about what kind of business he wants to start for himself over there in the Dominican Republic. Okay? And his wife is taken care of. She's getting her bag over there. His kids are living La Vida Loca over there. And he's a young dude. Young dude. Like my age. Like he was like 39, 40 years old, something like that. I'm going to be 40 in just a few months. Yeah, and his kids are getting grown. That's the life they're living. Okay? And that's really all it's going to come down to. These dudes aren't coming back to the U.S. Are you crazy? Y'all crazy? Any men that are professionals in the U.S., they're going to charge top dollar. They're not going to work all year. They're not going to work all year. And when you have guys who are professional, like that have like 30 years of skills, oh no. Okay? The guys that are like doing the manual labor, those guys are making those are the guys that are going to make like $500,000 a year, and those are the guys that have like some experience. But the guys with like 30 years of experience, no, that are masters of their craft, they'll be charging that kind of money just for a consult, like a remote consult. Like you won't even like a lot of those guys, you won't even see them anymore. All right. They'll be managing the guys that are charging $500 to $1,000 an hour remotely from some other country. I've already told you. And it's amazing because so many women, they cannot comprehend. American women cannot comprehend that the men are leaving and they're never coming back. And that this is a continuous trend. And that's why you have a lot of them attacking the password bros, because this is a preemptive move to prevent other men from leaving, letting them know if you ever try to do what these other men have done, there will be consequences. All right? We will tear you down and tear you to shreds so you cannot go. And that's not going to stop these men. What all it's going to do is these men are going to creep out. They're going to leave in secret. They're going to be like, okay, LaQuisha, okay, Karen, everything is good. Everything is good. They don't. We have stories like this already, where these men, they quietly pack their bags, get everything in order, and then take off. And these women that had these men as orbiters are shocked when these men block them on Facebook, block their phone numbers, won't take their calls, and then take off, and they're gone, and they're out of their lives. That guy that used to help them pay their rent, he's gone. That guy that was paying their cell phone bill, he's gone. The guy that was buying them meals, taking them out to eat, he's gone. All those orbiters, one by one, they're gone. And they can't replace them anymore because now they're older. And younger women are the ones who have all the value. They're the ones who have all the power. And what are these older women going to do? They're going to turn to church. They're going to go to the church, and that's when they're going to find Jesus suddenly. They're going to find Jesus suddenly, and they're going to think that, okay, now this is how I'm going to go and find a man. And truly godly men aren't going to be fooled by them. Truly godly men, if they see that there are snakes in the church, they're going to get out of the church. They're going to walk away from the church. They're not going to be fooled. Men who are truly of God, they know that it's just a building. You worship God, not a building. When the worst of them are preaching on the stage, you know it's over. You look at the church right now, the worst of them is preaching to the congregation. The worst of them is preaching to the congregation. So you know it's over. You know you have no business there. You can't turn around and say, God, I didn't know any better. You know better. You damn well know the pastor can't get you into heaven. The congregation can't get you into heaven. And you have to be accountable. God will call you on that. He will call you on that. You knew better. You've read the Bible. If you see Satan standing and preaching from preaching, all right? If Satan is standing there and preaching to the congregation, you damn well know you better get the hell out of there. You damn well know you better get up and get out of there. So don't give me that. Some of y'all want to stick around in church. No, if it's compromised, you get up out of there. I keep on telling y'all, stay away from the churches. They're compromised. Stay away from the churches. They're compromised. Some of y'all don't want to listen. And then you go and mess around in the church and you mess up your life. I hear some of y'all like, oh, pay my tithe, but it really works. Listen to me. Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. So why are we making sacrifices to the church? So that doesn't make any sense. When you are giving money to the church, that is a sacrifice. And there are people who will tell you, no, it's not. No, it's not. Then what is it? It's God's money. When you were making sacrifices, you were giving to God. You were returning to God what was his. So how can you tell me that tithe is not a sacrifice? Oh, you don't understand, Angry. That's absolute nonsense. You're giving these people their bag, and you're never supposed to ask how they're spending that money. That's between them and God. Oh my goodness gracious. You have to be a fool. You have to be a complete and utter fool making these people rich while you're struggling to buy groceries. You like Eggos, but you have to buy great value Eggos, all right, great value waffles, because you can't afford Eggos. You can't afford that $3.50 a box, so you have to go and buy those $1.99 a box. Great value Eggos, and even then, that's still expensive, and it's a luxury. You're not having that every day, but you want to enjoy yourself a little bit, and they don't even taste that great. But you beggars can't be choosers, and you're definitely a beggar. Telling y'all, it's not a game. It's real and it's serious, and you're gonna see it. The cost of labor is going to skyrocket. When it comes to blue collar labor, it's going to skyrocket. When it comes to white collar labor, it's literally going to be like this. People are going to tell these companies, if you want us to work for you, we're working remotely, or else you're not going to have us. We're not going to do this work. And the craziest thing is, as women are getting older now, they're going to be working fewer hours. As they're getting older, you're going to watch over the next 10 years as more and more women drop out of the labor market and reduce the number of hours that they are working, because they're not going to work those long hours like the men. And the men are saying, no, we're done with this as well. We're not going to work those long hours anymore either. And it's something that's changing society and restructuring society entirely. This is not a game, man. This is real stuff. It's real. It's going to be shocking. It's going to shock a lot of guys how much things change. You're going to see how powerful men in society actually are going to be when men walk away, and they can say whatever they want. They can say whatever they want about men. There are some guys who said it, that they're going to eventually start trying to prevent guys from leaving. They're going to go after the password bros, because they realize that they're taking their money, their value, their time away. All right, attention, time, money. If societies lose the attention, the time, and money of a man, because men, we are walking money, and if they lose us, they lose everything. A society is only as strong as its men. Weak men, weak society. Weak societies will crumble. That's how it is. That's really how it is. And modern women, they're going to be between a rock and a hard place. With so many of them aging, becoming aging, some of them becoming geriatrics, like, what do they think this is? What do they really think this is? And they think that a lot of the orbiters, they think that a lot of these women, they think that they're going to be on OF forever. They can do OF until they're 60. They don't realize that as they get older, a lot of men that are following them are going to transition away to younger women. They're going to have to face the real world at some point. They really are. And the internet is forever. Most employers today, they do a simple search. They have software out there. I have women talking about this that are literally saying that these women who've been on the internet, put themselves on the internet, sold themselves on the internet, they're not going to be able to find work. The employers are going to do searches. They're going to find out, oh, she's been on OF. Yeah, we're not hiring her. Almost no company right now will hire someone who's been on OF. McDonald's doesn't want you if you've been on OF. Are you crazy? People find out that you were on OF. The PTA doesn't want, they tell you don't show up. They tell you straight up, you're not welcome here. Don't show up. Don't come to public functions. That's it. And where are all these women going to end up? They're going to end up on public assistance. The ones with kids, they're going to end up on public assistance. Right? And then many of them will just end up becoming trapped in that cycle of poverty. But there won't be men to come and bail them out. And guys are wisening up. Men are wisening up. They're realizing, they're seeing what's happening right now, especially things like paternity fraud. And they're like, yeah, not me. Any man that's going out there right now and not being mindful and falling into this, like, it's crazy, because there's so much knowledge right now. There's so much knowledge right now. And if you're listening to this knowledge and you're criticizing people like me that are giving you this knowledge, and then you go out there and you end up getting screwed, and then you become bitter, you have no one to blame but yourself. And then you come back to these communities and you want to find men who will, comfort you and and give you kinship because you didn't learn your lesson. You were here criticizing us and making fun of us and mocking us, and now your life has been torn to pieces. And some of these guys, they don't learn their lesson the first time. They'll go and get us and have us. There are so many men right now that have had access to this knowledge. All right, because this has been around for over a decade now. This knowledge has been out there for over a decade, and only growing and growing more and more by the day, each and every passing day. And they mocked men like me. And they mocked men who gave them this knowledge. And they got married. And their first marriage completely collapsed. And they lost a lot during their first marriage. And they lost more than half their stuff. And what did they do? They went and got married a second time. And then they lost everything they had after their second marriage. And now they're showing up to this community, popping up in these communities. Like they're like some poor thing. Oh, you poor thing, baby. You poor thing. I have guys who admit that they didn't learn their lesson until after their second marriages. Second marriages collapsed. They thought this was a game. Like, you had this knowledge available to you. Your first marriage collapsed. You lost so much. You thought it was a fluke. So you went and did it all over again. And after the second one, and now you can't eat, you can't buy food, and you're sleeping in the woods. Okay, now you finally learned your lesson. You finally learned your lesson. And you want to ask me questions. And you want my time. But you were there criticizing me years ago. And try to put me down. And now you want to talk about brother. Brother what? Brother what? Brother from another? No, I don't know you. I don't know you. Go hang out with the soy boys. But don't come around me. Don't come around any of us. because you were there and you knew better and you were getting this knowledge and you didn't take it and you didn't learn and you tried to shame us and now you want to come and hang out with us. This isn't a club for broken men. This is a place where men who have common sense and values have made the decision that they are going to put themselves first. And because you didn't learn your lesson, you want to come here and gather with us? I don't think so. Get out of here. That's just how I see it, y'all. That is really how I see it. So many of these guys, they didn't learn their lesson the first time. Sometimes it takes even more than the second time. Some of these guys just never learn. And that's not my problem. But I'm not trying to save anyone. I'm not out here trying to save you, bro. I'm not out here trying to save you. In fact, you're not even my bro like that. I don't know you, man. I don't know you and I don't have anything for you. I'm just being real. I don't have anything for you. You know? You could ask around, but I don't have anything for you. I don't think any of these other dudes have anything for you. But every man has to make a decision. But I don't have anything for you. That's really what's up. I don't have any advice for you. I have no words of encouragement for you. I'm really indifferent to you. I really don't care if you're coming or going. You made your choice. You live with it. Love it. That's it. Because I'm not here to help you. You had your chance. Now keep it moving. And these guys, they become bitter. You're becoming bitter because you didn't listen. Because you chose to be arrogant and ignorant. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help you. Don't ask me for help. Are you going to criticize me? Don't ask me for help. You knew better. But you did what you wanted to do. And you put yourself into the situation. So you need to live with it. Love it. All right? Live with it and love it. Love it because you chose it. Love it. The cost of labor is going to be insane in Western countries. Absolutely insane, especially, like I said, especially for blue-collar labor. It's going to be absolutely insane for blue-collar labor, jobs that you cannot replace. You're not going to replace construction workers and we have these buildings that are going to build. These buildings can't build themselves. Even though China has a process now to put up buildings very, very quickly. The drawback is that those buildings all have to look exactly the same, and you still need tons of construction workers there. This is how it works with the machines this is how it works when it comes to machines with blue-collar labor. The machines don't replace the workers. They basically just help to make things move faster. You're going to still have to pay those construction workers, what you're supposed to pay them. And if they're and here's the thing, they're not stupid. These guys aren't stupid. If the building is going up in a record amount of time, let me make this clear. That doesn't mean that people aren't getting paid. So these people, they're going to charge more because they have if you're kidding me. For example, if let's say there are mandates where these guys will only put up this many bricks, we'll only lay this many cinder blocks every single day. Just because using the machine you can lay 100 cinder blocks rapidly, guess what? If you want us to do more, we have to be paid for that. We have to be paid for that. And they're going to say, well, but you're using the machine to lay the cinder blocks, so it makes it easier. No. Are you guys charging less money? No, we're not. In fact, we're charging a little bit more because we're getting it done so quickly. Right. So you're getting your bag and you want to pay us less. Not going to happen. All right? You're going to pay us even more. All right? That's really how it is. That's really how it is, y'all. They're gonna. So, guys, think about it. The labor market right now is tight. It's tight, 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 tight. We technically should be in a recession, but the truth of the matter is that so few people actually want to work and are willing, and and everybody's charging more for their labor. Everybody's charging more for their labor, and that's it. That's really it. That's why people like Bloomberg are pissed off, because they made their money by paying people less than they were worth. Way less than they were worth. You know, back before computers emerged in the 70s, and women entered the workforce in the 70s, men were paid enough to provide for themselves and a family. And then when women entered the workforce, you know, now they had an ample supply of employees. So they began paying men even less. And then computers came along and it began automating a lot of things. So that made the salaries go down even more. And eventually what you ended up having was people taking out loans just to survive. This is crazy, but this is what I've heard. Originally, during our grandparents' era, a man would spend his first home would cost 1 year's salary. How insane is that? 1 year's salary is what the first home would cost. So that tells you these people weren't working that hard. If you can pay off your home in 1 year with 1 year's salary, a lot of young men today, they'd be working their butts off. So they'd get that paid off within a few years. They would get that paid off as quickly as they could. And now they own their home. That's unheard of today. Now we have the 30-year mortgage. Only a crazy person would sign a 30-year mortgage. I am 40. I'll be 40 in a few months. I am not signing a 30-year mortgage. 30-year mortgage? Are you crazy? Even a lot of rich folk right now are liquidating their assets, liquidating property. And the cost of food is only going to continue going up in the Western society. People are going to be shocked. They're going to go overseas, and then they're finally going to be able to have a good meal overseas, because the cost of everything in Western society is too high. And the women who turn down all these men, like saying, "Oh, I need a man who makes $150,000 a year. I need a man who makes $500,000, $1 million a year." These women are going to find themselves with no one. With no one. And that's really how it is. And their options are only going to diminish. I showed you guys a video some months ago of this one woman saying that, older women don't have anything to worry about. They know she's like, I know 70-year-old women who date billionaires. Like, what? Like how crazy? How crazy must you be to say that? I know 70-year-old women who date billionaires. And the only thing that's going to happen to women as they get older is now they're going to date older men who are more mature and have more money. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Completely disconnected from reality. And the irony is, it doesn't matter. They can blame whoever they want to blame. Okay? Because, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The pendulum has swung far, far left, and it's going to take a long time before it corrects itself. If it can correct itself in Western society. Because as I said, men are leaving, and they're forming new communities in other countries. And people who say, well, don't bring them back to the United States. The thing is that these women have culture. So a lot of guys who bring their wives back to the United States, they're basically saying, well, guess what? Here's the situation. I could bring her back to the United States and maybe she'll change on me. Or I can marry a woman in Western society who is already westernized. And I know exactly what I'm going to get right there. So I'd rather take a risk on my Filipino wife or my wife from Thailand or Cambodia or Vietnam to take a then basically, you know, take the certainty of knowing that I'm going to go and get, you know, marry someone from Western society, and I'm definitely the bad things are going to happen because I already know what I'm getting. And that's why men are rebelling against women in society as they become passive roles and leave the West. What do you guys think about this? Because it's absolutely insane. Hey everyone, I appreciate your support and feedback. If you want to show your gratitude, you can use the super thanks feature to tip me any amount you like. You'll also get a special comment that I can see and reply to. Or you can become a channel member using the join button and get exclusive perks like badges, emojis, live chats, and more. Your support helps me make more videos for you, so thank you and stay tuned for more. I want to know your thoughts, guys, about this. You know my thoughts. I want to know what you think the future looks like for women in Western society, as well as how labor is going to play out. You've already heard what I have to say. I want to hear what you say. So let's talk more about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.